if you're listening to this in the morning or the afternoon. So I just want to say have a beautiful day whenever you are listening to this. I am Kristie Ondracek. I get to have the pleasure of being the host of TXCPA Houston's virtual Rolodex, in which I bring you people that I have met through my different connections to you. These are individuals that I believe you, of course, need to have in your own virtual Rolodex. It's been going on for about a couple years now, and I hopefully you've all found some value, and please reach out to them. They're here to help you. That's why I bring them on. And today I do have, once again, another special guest. So Jason, can you tell me who you are and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jason Rory. I'm the founder and CEO of Tried InfoSec. So we are a information security slash cybersecurity advisory firm focused on risk management, cybersecurity compliance, and then overall governance of cybersecurity programs.
So you kind of went into why should you be in everyone's virtual Rolodex, but why in this day and age should they have your name honestly on speed dial?
I mean, this day and age with everything digitized, and especially since we're, talking to the CPA audience and everyone's aware of the type of sensitivity of the data that CPA firms hold. There's a lot of personally identifiable information or PII that's out there in addition to the financial information, both for individuals and business. So protecting that data, being in compliance with the FTC safeguard rule, compliance with, the way IRS sees data protection. So that's why I feel like I should be in the Rolodex, because we would definitely want to protect that client's data, which protects your firm and ultimately protects your reputation.
What is the one thing that still surprises you when clients ask you this one question? What's that one question you're like, how do you not know this?
Yeah, I really think it's why should I do this? Or do I really need to do this? Where, a small organization, small firm, does this really apply to us? And the answer is yes, of course it does. You may be a two-person firm, maybe even a one-person firm, but you still have sensitive data if you have clients, which if you didn't, you wouldn't be in business. So you have clients, so you have sensitive data that needs to be protected. Because even if you have even just a small client base, if something were to happen and those individuals or companies' information got leaked out, there's going to be issues. So no matter your size, there's a lot of attention that needs to be paid, towards the sensitivity of the data that you're ultimately responsible for. And also, the cloud does not release you of all liability in terms of client and data protection. So remember that as well.
Yeah, I think that is really important that, oh, it's out on the cloud, it's safe. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's not
And,
necessarily true. Yeah,
I think it's one of those things, it won't happen to me.
exactly.
And
That's
so when
that's
a
the
client comes and says, "Oh, but I the solar entrepreneur, the small firm, oh, it won't happen to me." I'm pretty sure the hackers don't have this like little decision matrix like, "Oh, it's under
yeah.
five people. Let's
Don't worry about
disregard
them.
them." I
Yeah,
mean,
those are actually typically the ones they go after the most. Because if you think about it, the mindset of I'm too small, it's not going to happen to me, so I'm not really going to pay attention or put the appropriate safeguards in place to ensure that it doesn't happen. Well, the bad actors are hoping that you think that way, because if they can get to your front door, it's probably a safe bet that it's not protected well enough. So it's an easier in to those who don't think it's going to happen to them. So their systems aren't protected up to best practices. Typically, the staff members aren't trained, so they're can be easily manipulated. When it comes to social engineering tactics like phishing and through email, through voice, through text, through social media. That whole social engineering side, is running rampant these days.
yeah, I think the scary one is
Hmm.
the voice impersonations that I mean, what do you tell clients about that? Like, is there something like Joe Smith off the street can be like, I can implement this right this minute to protect my
Yeah.
family and my clients.
Yeah, the voice stuff is getting pretty crazy. I mean, you could go to Google right now and type in voice cloning software and it's free. So as an organization help advise clients. There's a lot of different ways you can help kind of minimize those threats, right? When it comes to voice, number one is just stop and verify is usually what I tell people. That's number one. Even if the person on the other end of the phone sounds like somebody that it may not necessarily be them. So if they're asking you to do something that's kind of odd and out of place, it's best maybe just to stop, maybe text them or tell them you'll call them back. So just something that kind of breaks that communication and gives you the ability to verify the legitimacy of that request. Because I mean, I heard a story the other day. I just read it online where is someone did that. They went to LinkedIn, found the CEO of this organization doing a speech. They were able to record that voice through his speech, clone it, use it to call his company and talk to the help desk, whoever the person was in charge of resetting passwords, and said, "Hey, I'm CEO, changed password." And because it sounded like him on the other end of the phone, they fulfilled that request, reset the CEO's password, gave it to the person over the phone. And from there, now they have the CEO's username and password and do what they will with it. So yeah, it's huge on training. It's huge on stop, verify, and then there's even a lot of organizations, and you may have experienced before. If banks are a good example, if you call and you're trying to do a transaction, they'll actually send you a code to your cell phone, and you have to read that code back or click a specific link that they send you. Ultimately what they're doing, they're just verifying who you are, who you say that you are, even though it sounds like you. And yeah, you may be able to verify some basic information, but it's almost like everybody knows two-factor, multi-factor authentication. That's kind of the human multi-factor authentication mechanism is doing that. And there's starting to be more and more solutions out there. So I think a lot more organizations are going to, kind of adopt that method.
Yeah, for anyone who's mimicking my voice, one, it changes because I get colds a lot. Two, I don't call people.
Yeah,
Like that
I'm
would
the
be
same
my
way.
family would be like, why are you calling and
Yeah,
not texting? Because this is
exactly.
not you. Like
Yeah.
if you're in jail, you can just stay in jail. That, that's what they would
Uh,
be. So
I'm the
sorry,
same
bad
way.
actors. I'm not the person to mimic.
Right.
So
Yeah.
um with social media, I see these different things of like, what's your first dog's name?
Hmm.
And I never like answered them because I'm like, I don't know, I can't remember one.
All right.
Um, there's always that problem. But two, someone finally put it on there about a year ago. They're trying to get this information because of the security questions.
Questions. Yep.
And I never thought of that. Is there other things out there that we need to be aware of that they're trying to be innocent asking stuff, but really they're using it to hack
Uh,
into our
yeah,
stuff?
I think there's a lot. I mean, yes, Facebook as one example is, and there's the last I read, there was over 80 million fake Facebook pages or accounts, and used for these type of purposes. To try to start conversations, have conversations, or start trends or threads or whatever. Asking for common things from a person's life that you may think are innocent, but if you put enough of those together, to your point, is yeah. I mean, security question is, what's your first pet's name? Well, what street did you grow up on? There's and a lot of these kind of funny memes and posts are put your street name you grew up on plus your pet's name, and that equals your rock star name. But people are reading that and they're like, oh, okay. So you can slowly put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then it may lead to a compromised email account, and that leads somewhere else. So it's just, the rule of thumb is don't share any of your personal life story on social media. It's just, hopefully it's common sense. I mean, as fun as it is to kind of do those trends and get a good laugh, and it's kind of bad to think that this is the type of world we live in where you can't share that information without there being some negative side to it. But this is where we're at.
Yeah, it's sad that we are in this state of heightened protection. So for those clients who they're sitting here listening to this going, I don't have protection. What are some of the first steps that they should be thinking about besides contacting you? What are some basic layers of protection from the bad actors?
The basic is no matter what the platform is, if it offers multi-factor authentication as an option, turn it on. And I'm thinking even in your personal life, if you have, I always use one story because it's true. A friend of mine, they had their Nest account for their home, Nest thermostats, Nest cameras, just all inside the house. And someone was able to get into his Gmail account, which gave him access to his Nest account. They were able to turn the thermostat up to like 90 degrees in the middle of the night. And it's just screwing with people. Some people do that. So not to get too deep into that story, but it's just an example of just something simple like your Nest account, anything. If it gives you the option to do multi-factor, please do it. Another thing is just try to avoid password reuse as much as possible. Don't use the same password for every single website that you go to, because if one platform, one website gets breached and that password gets out, then that could open up a lot of doors for bad actors to travel around and use that same username and password to get into stuff that, maybe a lot more sensitive. So that's two, and of course, strong passwords. Really, a lot of it is password driven. So if you keep your passwords secure, use a password manager like Keeper or LastPass. I'm a LastPass fan myself, so using that type of tool to help manage the passwords, keep them complex. Keep you from doing password reuse, having multi-factor authentication enabled. You'll keep yourself out of a lot of trouble just by doing those basic things.
Those are and those are things that we're told at, all these seminars we go to in education, but repetition is really necessary in this day and age because we want to keep it simple because we're short on time. Well, if someone hacks you, you're going to be short on money and
Yeah.
time and energy
Yeah.
unraveling all that
Yeah.
because one of
Yeah.
the
So,
articles I read recently was cybersecurity insurance is getting harder.
yeah, it is. And fun fact, I used to be in that business several years ago. When I had my last company, it was a side venture that I was part owner in an insurance agency that only sold cybersecurity insurance. So yes, I can definitely speak to that. When it first came out, it was easy to get. The premiums were low.
Mhm.
Now, completely different story. Now the applications are 10 or 12 pages full of a bunch of technical questions. So um, the insurance is interesting. You really need it. It's a critical piece to your overall cybersecurity program, within your organization. But you have to make sure that you're complying with that application. Don't go checking all the yeses just because you want to save money on the premium. You have to make sure that you're actually doing those things that you say yes to. Because if there is an incident that the insurance company has to get involved with, and they come out and through their forensics people that they're going to bring on the scene that find out, oh, this breach happened because of you didn't have this kind of security measure in place, but you said you did on the application. Now we're going to deny the claim. Now whatever financial impact that incident had, you could be left holding that bag. So it's just critical to have it, but also you do it correctly, and then make sure you work with the right technical people, because it is such a technical policy that you want to make sure that you are answering the questions correctly. But in addition to that, whenever the insurance carriers, come to you with a quote, that you have the proper insurance, because you don't want to have it, but end up finding out that you're underinsured. So nowadays, a $250,000, policy may not be enough. So it's just one of those things to kind of always look at, involve your, technical people to, help collaborate with the insurance agencies and just have as many eyeballs on it as possible, because it's a lot more complex than, just a general liability policy or a
Mhm.
homeowner or auto, policy, those things. So it definitely don't I would say don't let an insurance person just sell you a policy without having some kind of technical review behind it.
Well, and making sure, you do have those protocols in place. We've got ours, and I remember reading the questions. I'm like, I have no clue.
Yeah.
And I have a team that, went through it and we made sure. And then the other thing is education.
Yeah.
For CPAs, especially with the IRS,
Yeah.
FDIC, Fin Rep, everyone's coming out with these protections that to for the clients and such. How are people such as myself, CPAs and finance and accounting professionals, how are we supposed to know all this and keep track of everything?
That's a good question. I think it is just like in my world with my certifications, your world. We all have continuing education, and that's big. Outside of just your industry, is to stay abreast on what the changes are in the threat landscape out there. Especially if it's your firm. Um, I would look at, talking to your technical, if you have an IT staff or you have an MSP that you outsource to, maybe you have a combination of both. Those companies should be able to provide you security awareness training that happens on a frequent basis. There's a lot of companies that think, oh, I'll watch the 10-minute video once a year. I'm educated. No, that is, really the best course of action is to go through monthly training, because typically the way, we advise and set it up, if we're controlling the awareness training is, we'll do monthly email phishing simulations, because that's still the number one way incidents happen. Um, but we'll also do supplemental training like every quarter on a different topic, like the voice, and or deep fake videos that are becoming a thing now. In addition to just some of the things just to always stay, aware of, that have been around forever, like clean desk policy. Don't leave sensitive documents out on your desk when you leave. Make sure you lock the doors behind you if that's your responsibility. Don't let people just follow you through entryway. So all these things still have a role to play in overall, protecting information. So not everything is cyber related. Majority is, but not everything. So just kind of keeping up to date on those things, keep them on the forefront of your mind. See something, say something, and understanding that security is everyone's responsibilities. And if you sit behind a keyboard, you're a target. So you have a role to play in making sure that your organization's data is safe.
I think that was really important what you just said about physical, because I think we think just the laptop and keeping that safe, but the server room, the where things are, the firewall room, where things are hooked into the
Right.
system, making sure that that's protected and that's locked. So I think that's a great reminder. Can you expand on one thing for me? Because this is more for my curiosity, and I'm sure I'm
Mhm.
not the only one. Deep fakes. Can you
Yeah.
kind of go into that just a little bit more? Because it's
Yeah,
something that we hear about, but I'm like, what
yeah,
is it really?
it's interesting, and I'm sure everybody's seen it. Maybe not familiar with the deep fake term, but especially on social media, you see a video that looks identical to somebody, athlete, celebrity. It sounds just like them, but they're just saying some off the wall stuff. And that's what it is. It's AI driven video, AI driven voice cloning to make these videos. And that are, I mean, you have to take like a double take. Like, wait, there is no way that person would say that. That's a deep fake video. It's all just fabricated, but it's done so well that it's believable. And we're actually partnering with a company that helps, kind of back to play off the training, is being able to develop training for organizations to recognize these deep fake videos in addition to the voice cloning that we talked about. That's how popular and manipulative that these videos can be, that now people are coming out with awareness training around these videos to kind of keep everybody say, hey, don't believe everything you see, even if, because I think it will kind of trickle down like most things, and you may start seeing videos of your CEO, or someone
Mhm.
in your industry that may not necessarily be a celebrity. So now it's kind of like, oh, it's more believable.
Yeah.
But there's, things that definitely pay attention, different ways to detect whether or not it's a deep fake or if it's something legitimate.
Yeah, I think with AI and it
Mhm.
all coming together, I think there was something I saw on social media about Italy, and people are like, that's AI. And I'm like I'm like, how can you tell it's AI?
Yeah.
Like, so,
Some of the stuff.
it's verify,
Yeah.
question and verify. I mean, the CPA world, we say trust, but verify. I think now we're in the world of question and verify and then question again is how I
Yeah.
feel.
I mean, I think you're right. And that's a good, good point to bring up AI, because if we go, all the way back to the basics of detecting a phishing email, there was a lot of red flags that were
Mm-mm.
easy to see if you took the time, to actually read it. That's where a lot of people make mistakes, is they're moving too fast. But the grammatical errors, these spoof domains, all these things are becoming better with AI for the bad actors. The grammatical errors, especially, are kind of a thing of the past, because all they have to do is run their email through AI, Chat GPT, whatever, to generate something that's now actually legitimate, say for the English language. So now it's harder to detect because it sounds proper. So that's where it's going to become more and more important, that you do. You stop, you verify. If it's an email, call the person. Just figure out a way, just slow down a little bit, because I've seen too much money go out the door on wire fraud. I've seen people lose their jobs. In the past last, I would say just the last 10 years alone. I've seen a lot of things bad happen to organizations and staff members that could have been prevented if they would have just breathed and checked and verified.
Yeah, slow down.
Slow down,
It's so
people.
funny because I'm on the board of several things, I'm getting like these phishing emails,
Oh yeah.
and I'm just enjoying reporting them. It
Yeah.
brings me joy now. I see it. I'm like, yeah, that person's not going to email me. And then,
Mhm.
you look at the email address, and a lot of them are Gmail address, which
Yeah, exactly.
it's free to set up, and they're just trying to find that one person, and it doesn't have a link. So it's like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with this email. No, they're trying to get a
But They're
conversation.
they're getting smarter. Like I mean, I even received one not long ago that passed the some of the spam checks, because the bad links, they weren't in the email. They were in a legitimate attachment. It was a PDF, so there's nothing wrong with that. But if you open the PDF and you click the link inside the PDF, that's where the bad link was at.
Oh,
Uh, so
wow.
they're using tactics like that to slide under some of the spam filtering capabilities. They're bad actors are realizing a lot of people are blocking connections from certain countries, so they're going to the big boxes like Microsoft and Amazon and renting servers that are based in the US to then deliver out the malicious emails or whatever else they're doing, but it looks like it comes from a US based IP address, so it passes some of the checks. So again, it's a battle to kind of stay ahead of these guys of what they're doing. But that's the reason we're here.
Well, if they would just use that evil for good, just imagine what the world would be like.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
Great point. Yep.
well, thank you, Jason, for
You're
all
welcome.
that information. That was awesome. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with as we close this up?
I usually end talks like this on the on the point that we just covered, is slow down. Please slow down and verify. It only takes a few seconds, and it could save a lot of heartache in the long run. So please just take a breath, slow down. If it looks at all suspicious, contact your IT person, delete it, because if it is legitimate, someone will contact you. I promise. So yeah,
Yes, they will call you or they will
exactly.
email you multiple times.
Yeah. So
Because
verify,
I've
verify,
had that
verify.
happen to me where the tone of the email was not right. I didn't trust it. I
Yeah.
kept deleting it. It came 3 times, and after the third time, he actually called. He goes, "It's legit." I'm like,
There you go.
"Oh," and it was
Yeah.
from my IT person. And he's like,
Nice.
Why didn't you respond?" I'm like, "Because it wasn't your tone of language." So
Right.
his training worked really well.
There
So
you go.
thank you so much, Jason.
You're welcome.
For those listening or watching this, you will have Jason's contact information underneath. Please, please reach out to him. He's here to help you in your business. He's part of my virtual Rolodex. So we'll be having him for webinars and our conferences so you can meet him in person, hopefully really near in the future. So once again, thank you, Jason. I appreciate you coming on to the virtual Rolodex.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me.